The Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller. After using this for over hundreds of hours, let's see if it's worth the upgrade. Hey guys, I'm Luke and welcome back to another episode of Triforcedtech. As in this video, we're going to be talking all about the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller. And it may seem weird making a review about a controller, but I mean, is it really? The controller is essentially the link between you and the game you're playing. And if you couldn't tell by my background, I take my controllers very seriously. Like, I want my controller to be as comfortable as possible and fit for the occasion. So yeah, I feel definitely qualified to talk about this and let you know if it's worth it. As someone who's gone through countless Switch 1 Pro controllers, it's nice to have something a little bit different. So let's get into more detail on what I mean by that. Alright, so if you couldn't tell, I was not exaggerating when I said I've gone through quite a bit of Switch 1 Pro controllers. And of course these are different variants, so you may argue it's worth collecting just for that. But no, that is not the sole reason why I purchased them. I mean, as you can tell, I have multiple controllers of similar variants, that being the Tears of the Kingdom one and the Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Obviously, with these being my favorite two special editions, I had to get multiple ones of them, but they're not just for collector's sake or to sit on the shelf. I've gone through like 5 or 6 Xenoblade Chronicles 2 controllers, and the reason for that, and the biggest issue with these controllers, is that over time they would degrade, and with the constant hours of using the analog stick, the plastic itself would literally start to like actually break apart and dust would get into it, and that would cause the dreaded Joy-Con drift. The Joy-Con drift, as you know the name implies, all started way back with the Nintendo Switch 1's Joy-Cons and them also having the plastic degrade over time or dust getting into it, causing these false inputs where literally your character would start to drift in a random direction. And this was a huge issue. I mean, a really big issue. I remember this was like Nintendo's biggest controversy way back when the Switch 1 came out. Their controllers literally had a short lifespan and would eventually just stop working or not work properly. And it's a shame because that exact same thing applied with their Pro controllers, though the one thing that should have fixed it, right? Or, you know, a controller that's meant to be, you know, the better version of the Joy-Con. It had that exact same issue, and that's why people still called it the Joy-Con drift even on this. I mean, every single one of these controllers, they feel so grainy when I move the analog stick. It's insane. I've put in countless hours into each one of these controllers, and yeah, it's a shame because like clockwork, they would all start to feel really weird and grainy, and they just never felt good afterwards. You'd have to swap to an entirely new controller. Now, is that the same issue with the Switch 2 Pro controller? Well, so before I get into that, let's talk about what should be the standard in comparison. Now, the way to avoid Joy-Con drift is to have Hall effect sensors. Essentially what that is these analog sticks will have magnetic sensors that will give it far more accuracy and way longer longevity and make the controls not deteriorate over time. This is something that has yet to become a standard amongst all first-party controllers, including this Xbox One. I'm just holding it towards something different. Sony also has this issue. Like, I had to purchase their Pro version of their controller, which is $100 more than like their standard controller and a Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, because this has the same problem. They would have Joy-Con drift and eventually just kind of go bad, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, sadly, you're only going to find these Hall effect sensors on third-party controllers, not this. But then you'll find companies like 8BitDo that will release a controller for a fraction of the price with it. Yeah, their analog sticks feel so much better and last so much longer. So you may wonder, did Nintendo finally do that for the Nintendo Switch 2? No, obviously they didn't. Instead, what they decided to do is they definitely gave us a remedy, just one that isn't necessarily definitive. Like, there might be issues down the road. At least I haven't had any issues, but let me explain. So instead of adding Hall effect and making it magnetic sensors and all that jazz, what Nintendo did is they literally made the plastic itself like feel really slippery. Like they change the texture of the plastic. This causes less friction when the analog stick moves around. This is the best way I can explain it, essentially. And because of that, yeah, you get less Joy-Con drift. Like, it's less likely for the friction to cause the plastic to deteriorate and it kind of break over time. And it seems to be better at dust resistance because I guess they're more sealed tight or something. Overall, less dust is also getting into this. So after well over 1,000 hours of use in comparison to a Pro controller for the Switch 1, oh my God, it is so much different. I remember when I first got this out of the box, way back when it came out, I was like, damn, this feels so good, but it's a shame it's only downhill from here. I was comparing it to how it feels like when opening a new Switch 1 Pro controller. But no, I was actually wrong. After, again, well over 1,000 hours of use, so many games in between, so much going on, it feels really, really good till now. Like, that is butter. That, like, you won't know until you try it. You gotta feel it and you'll understand what I mean. I really hope over time this doesn't degrade and it stays like this, but currently it seems to withstand the test of time. But that's obviously not the only change that they added between the, Pro 2 controller and Pro 1. I mean, the biggest change, obviously, is this important-ass button, right? The chat button. I mean, when I play it on the Switch 2, it's just like, where is it? I feel like I'm missing something. I'm kidding, okay? This is probably the most neglected button of all time. It's actually the dumbest feature Nintendo has ever added. I don't even understand it, but yeah, okay, jokes aside, not this. But there are some changes, of course, not just this button. They actually added 2 other buttons, believe it or not. They're also kind of useless to me. So yeah, the biggest change between these two outside of the grip and feel is we got the new chat button that Nintendo has added, and on the back, 2 new buttons, being the grip button, grip right and grip left. And yeah, I'll be honest, I don't use them at all. You can register them to whatever button you want. They're not necessarily new buttons, and there are no games that actually utilize it because obviously the Joy-Cons don't have them. So if you're playing in handheld, you would literally just be missing 2 buttons. So yeah, they're just kind of like shortcut keys, and I'm never going to use them or program them or do anything with them. They're just kind of there. I just think it's the new standard of controllers. We need like extra inputs, and okay, it's cool that they exist. I'm sure someone out there can find the use for them. But yeah, other than that, it really is just the feel and vibe. And here's the thing. The feel and vibe don't just apply to the analog sticks. It applies to the entire controller. Like, the best way I can describe this controller is the texture in itself just feels so good. It's so smooth. Like, literally rubbing it against my hand, and again, this is after sweating on it, literally playing against thousands of hours, grubby hands, going through the motions and everything, and it still feels so good. Like, I'm not exaggerating, and I have no reason to glaze Nintendo, trust me. I will say how it is, as soon as I love to complain. Just know that, okay? I will complain if I'm given the chance. There's no way I'm gonna let that opportunity slide. So if I can complain, I'm complaining. So you can trust me here when I say no other controller feels as good. It melts in your hand. That's the best way I can describe it. These controllers obviously had like certain textures to them and stuff. I kind of like the idea of no textures. Like PlayStation and Xbox have like a grippy texture to it, and I get it. It's meant to like, give you more friction on your hand and feel like it just kind of feels tighter, maybe like less likely to fall out of your hand. But nah, bro, this slippery, buttery feel, man. Again, you just have to feel it. You have to try it. It's so weird. It's crazy because when the Switch 1 Pro controller was the thing, before the Switch 2 came out, I did not consider the Switch 1 Pro controller to be my favorite controller of all time. I would have much rather preferred like an Xbox controller, or even the, DualSense PlayStation controllers. They just genuinely felt better to me. But I've come around when it came to the Switch 2 Pro controller. Literally, in design-wise, it's barely any different. It's still even lacking the analog triggers. Like, we still have digital triggers, which, again, to me, is just bizarre from Nintendo when Nintendo pioneered the idea of analog with the GameCube, right? I mean, the GameCube is like the gold standard for Nintendo fans. I'll be honest, though, not for me. GameCube feels really hollow to me, and something about it, I never clicked with me. I never liked it. I don't like the hexagonal, analog input where it has to like sit and clip on each side. I was never a fan. So for me, I was always looking for the next great thing. I didn't mean to do that. Too many controllers next to me, but also compared to like an Xbox and PlayStation controller, the Pro controllers have way longer battery life, and I think that's another reason why I overall do appreciate it. But again, only issue maybe that I would have between this controller and that one would be the triggers. Like, yeah, the triggers on this one is just so much nicer. It's an actual trigger. It goes down. I mean, these are literally called ZL and RZ or LZ. ZL, RZ, ZR? I don't know. Whatever. They're the Z buttons, and they really do feel like buttons, not triggers. So I guess you could argue, well, technically they're not meant to be actual triggers, and if that's the case, okay, well, the controller does do its part. Overall, I'm kind of going all over the place. You know, all these controllers next to me, can't really focus. So to get back to hone in on what I'm trying to get at, yes, this controller is so much worth the upgrade from the Switch 1 Pro controller, but also if you're stuck with the puppy dog, you know, grip, and this is not practical. This feels so flat and bad, and ergonomically it's just horrible. The buttons don't feel as tight. Again, this is meant for just handheld use and nothing more. This is where it's at, and again, you get all what you want to work on the Switch 2. The sad thing is, let's say you have a Switch 1, and you're like, oh, should I upgrade then? Should I get a Pro controller for the Switch 2 and use on my Switch 1? Sadly, that doesn't work that way. This is not backwards compatible. It's, you know, technically, it's only their stuff is forwards compatible, if that makes sense. So you can use a Switch 1 Pro controller on a Switch 2, but it doesn't mean you can use a Switch 2 on a Switch 1, which, yeah, is a shame, because night and day difference. And if you're stuck playing like Breath of the Wild on the Switch 1, I would much rather still play with the Switch 2. It's a shame just because they added a few buttons, they made it not compatible. It would have been like a lot nicer if it was, and I guess that might be a reason not to get it if you don't own a Switch 2. Like, the only reason to purchase this is if you own a Switch 2, or if you're gonna like emulate or play games on your PC and you want to use it as a PC controller. But other than that, it's only meant for the Switch 2. Yeah, you can't use this. And another thing that kind of sucks that, you know, if you only use a Switch 1 Pro controller is, let's say you wanted to, you know, turn on your Switch 2 from far away remotely by hitting the home button like you would on the Switch 1 to power it. It doesn't work for some reason. It only works on the Switch 2. It feels like Nintendo really is trying to like nudge people in getting the newer version of the controller. And it makes sense because, dude, this controller is $80 still. This is $90. So you're literally paying $10 more for a much, much, much better feel, and it being, you know, actually made for the next generation Nintendo console. So there really is no reason to play or buy a Switch 1 controller, even if you may say, oh, but you got the Tears of the Kingdom Special Edition, the variants, you know, like Xenoblade, it's so cool. I'll be real, I would take the Switch 2 Pro controller any day over any one of these limited edition Switch 1 Pro controllers. Yeah, they look cool, but it's about the feel. It's about how I play. That's what matters most, right? Not any of the other things. And that's why, yeah, I highly do recommend this. Now, my bad on going all over the place towards the end there, but the gist is that, yes, I do recommend the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller, especially if you want to upgrade from the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller, or, of course, you are done using the puppy dog grip, and, yeah, you just need an actual standard controller. But that doesn't mean I recommend it over everything. Like, if money is the main issue, then we do have other options. I mean, you can get third-party controllers. You don't have to get a first-party in general. And the gold standard for me has to be 8-bit dough. It's actually kind of crazy when I think back to when I was a kid. Every third-party controller was trash. They were all crappy knockoffs. You gave those third-party controllers to your friend who was visiting. You never play, you know, whoever, you know, owned the console would play with the first-party controller, and the friends would play with the third-party controllers. That was the gist of it. But I'm not gonna lie, things have changed. Like, this 8-bit dough controller and pretty much all their products, including these ones, and way many more, are literally so good, they're on par with Nintendo, if not better. Now, here's the difference. This actually has Hall effect, so you don't have to worry about it degrading over time. Well, yeah, it doesn't feel as nice in terms of, like, I guess the texture, that's really something that they can change with future iterations. I doubt that's really going to change much. But, like, in terms of pricing, this is like $30. This is almost 100. So yeah, if you're someone who just wants to move on and has to use an actual controller and can't stand using this grip anymore, or doesn't own a Switch 1 Pro controller, then go get one of these. I'm using the 8BitDo, I believe it's like Ultimate controller, like Ultimate Bluetooth controller, and they have so many variants. They made so many new versions. They even have ones with like a ring light around the controller, kind of like, you know, this one here. This is a GameSir controller, and it's very fancy as well. So as you can see, I have an Xbox layout, but if I want to play on Nintendo, like a Nintendo console, I can swap it and give it a Nintendo layout, kind of like this one. And you can also purchase this one in an Xbox layout if you want. But my whole point is, these are both cheaper than this, and they feel just as good, if not better. They hold the same standard, if not better, and they do everything you want it to do. I mean, this even has, again, analog triggers. Both of them do, so you're not limited to the digital. And yeah, Hall effect, all the bells and whistles, and more. I mean, there's really no reason not to just pick up one of these if, you know, you don't really care about first party and you just want something cheap and does a job. I highly recommend 8BitDo. They're my absolute favorite when it comes to third-party controllers. And again, it's crazy how, yeah, I can say that now. Like, a company based in Hong Kong, I believe, is making way better products than anything you'd find in the West, and even from Nintendo themselves. But it's funny because pretty much everything is probably still manufactured in China. But my point is, they're of quality now. So you hear like Chinese knockoff, I don't, to me, I don't consider Chinese knockoffs anymore. Like, if anything, they're kind of better than the actual thing. Times have really changed, man, because again, when I was a kid, that wasn't the case. But also, we do have this 8BitDo controller. This is the Pro 2. Now, the Pro 3 has blown the hell up, all thanks to Pokemon Legends ZA, because it helps you catch shinies. I don't know exactly, like, you can have like extra inputs, or you can have it do, you know, turbo or something. I'm not exactly sure, but I don't really care because I'm not a shiny hunter or anything like that. But yeah, this is one I bought literally like 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago, because the Pro 2, it's pretty old. But again, analog triggers, feels so good. Playing, again, D-pad centric games. Like, I use this to connect on my Switch 1, and I can connect it to my Switch 2. This one's connected to my Switch 2, and I literally just play, you know, Game Boy and, you know, NES and SNES D-pad-centric games with this. Obviously, the design is based off of the DMG. It is so nice, and again, it's crazy because this is like $30 as well. They're all cheaper. I mean, you could probably buy all 3 of these for the price of this one Pro controller. So you know, the whole family's playing, and they're playing with Hall effect and everything. So again, yeah, while I do recommend this to a Nintendo enthusiast, to someone who just wants the official thing, you got other options. You got many options. But anyways, I want to say that about does it for this review. Hopefully it wasn't too long-winded or anything. I just find myself really enjoying just gushing about all these sort of products. And as you can tell, I have so much more to talk about. If there's anything in particular you want to see me cover and break down, I would love to do so, because again, you know, collecting all sorts of gaming, retro or modern, is a huge hobby of mine. And yeah, I thought it'd be fun to, again, express it through this channel. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this new journey we're taking. And again, let me know what else you'd like to see me talk about, retro or modern. It doesn't matter. If it's some kind of hardware that I can tinker with, I would love to talk about it. So yeah, please leave a like to show your support. That about does it for this episode of Triforce Tech. I've been Luke, and I'll see you all in the next one.